안녕하세요, Cloud입니다. Hey guys, Cloud here. Today we'll be covering 중, which means middle. This 중 is used in a few different ways, so we're gonna look at that. All right, let's get into it. This lesson is divided into 4 parts. Part 1, the present progressive nun 중. In case you forgot, the present progressive is when you take a verb and add ing to it. So verb ing, so eating, sleeping, drinking are all present progressive. In Korean, we can take the nungot principle that we've been talking about for some time now, and we can replace the kot with 중 to make the sentence in the present progressive. I used to say this quite often when I was asked what I'm doing back when I was a student. So they would ask, what are you doing? I would say, 학교 가는 중, or 학교 가는 중이에요, or 중이야. Another example, 저는 그 비디오를 지금 편집하는 중이에요. I'm editing that video right now. You might be wondering, well, then how's it any different from using the 고 있다 for like 하고 있어요, something like that? Well, there's no real difference. One thing to note, however, is that with verbs that end in 하다, sometimes you can just remove the 하다 and throw in the 중. For example, 저는 가구를 다 보관 중이에요. So we kind of got rid of the 하다 there. So I'm just storing all my furniture. 중 is also used on signs to say that something is undergoing something. So for example, a sign that would say, construction in progress or class in progress, surgery in progress, those kind of things would use 중. And you can actually check out some street signs in Korea containing 중 being broken down in the very first 2 video links that I'll put in the description below. So let's move on to part 2. A while back, I think in lesson 11, we learned about 동안, like in the example, 저는 10분 동안 걸었어요. I walked for 10 minutes. In this situation, with 는, 동안, if you can kind of guess and see where this is going, you can use it to mean while, and it would, the conjugation is just like you would add a 능것. So for example, this is my favorite example of this lesson, by the way, and you'll see why. 그 남자의 모습을 보는 동안 웃음을 참지 못했어요. While looking at that man's appearance, I couldn't stop myself from laughing. So it basically works in terms of conjugation the same as if you would add nun 중 or 능것, but it just gives the different meaning of while. It's relatively simple, so we're going to move on to part 3 of all. Now, out of all the lessons, we had to pick this one to teach you about 중. So why? Well, because 중 is used when trying to express that out of all the lessons, so like out of all my classes this semester, or out of all my past relationships, things like that, you throw in 중 at the end of the phrase to create this meaning. So let's look at an example. 수업 중에 수학 수업을 제일 좋아해요. So out of all the classes, 수업 중에, so out of classes, and then I like math the most. The example was a little different, but I made it more accurate. Anyways, another example. Is it up? Yeah. 제가 받은 요청 중에 그 요청이 제일 이상해요. Out of all the requests that I've received, that's the strangest one. Or that's the strangest request. We can also add more detail. Instead of just saying, of all the classes, or of all the requests, we can start saying things like, of all the classes I took with you this semester and really liked. So we've learned enough grammar and vocab at this point to make more detailed sentences. Actually, if you want, go ahead and write out that sentence in Korean down in the comments. So out of all the classes I took with you this semester and really liked. So yeah, I'll be sure to look out for that. Now, let's continue with some more examples. 내가 한국에서 먹어본 것 중에 제일 맛있는 것은 김밥이었어요. Of all the things that I have tried or that I've eaten in Korea, the most delicious thing was kimbap, and that's a true story, by the way. We can also use 중 with certain items, like to say between apples and oranges, which do you like more? So, for example, 캐나다 국기와 태극기 중에 어떤 국기가 더 예뻐요? So you can say between the Canadian flag, so 캐나다 국기와, and 태극기 중에, the Korean flag, between both of them, which flag is prettier or which flag is more pretty. After I finished after I finished writing down all the examples for this lesson, I actually heard a sentence, so I decided I'd add it. It also uses 중에. I don't think we covered all the grammar in the sentence, but the first part is what I wanted to focus on. 이 수업 듣는 사람 중에, out of the people attending this class. Now the rest of it, 이런 짓 할 사람이 너 말고 또 누가 있어? I don't think we covered all the grammar here, but basically is like, is there anyone besides you who'd do something like this? So yeah, that it's right after I finished writing examples, I heard the sentence and I was just thinking that the more you learn, the more you start recognizing these things. You can see that this is what we just learned. And you'll start recognizing more things as you continue your Korean studies. All you have to do is just expose yourself to more Korean. Now finally, we get to the last part of today. Buy some time. 중. This is extremely useful when talking about when you'll do something by. So for example, 저는 그것을 내일 중으로 다 할 거예요. I'll do it all of it by tomorrow. You can see, obviously you add 으로 to the end to 중, so that right after the time, and it creates the meaning of by this time. Also notice that the exact time is ambiguous and doesn't really need to be specified when using 중 in this way. So that's why often you'll see in translations, it'll say like sometime tomorrow, by sometime tomorrow, because it's a little bit ambiguous. Well, that's it for this lesson. Been on a bit of break with the end of year holidays and whatnot, but back at it, and hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. Be sure to check out the 2 street sign explanation videos that go along with this lesson. The links will be in the description below.